Now I'm glad to present to you Dr. Michael Fowler. We will get a little bit now institutional. He will present the hybrid platform, TU Berlin. And the title of his presentation is The Hybrid Platform Fostering Dialogue Between Art and Science. I would like first to introduce Michael. Sorry, I give you, Johan, your books. Would like first to introduce Michael. Michael is a scholar and curator with an interest in interdisciplinary practices. With a background in classical music, he has expertise in the convergence of art, science, sound, and acoustics. Michael's extensive involvement in cross-university projects between Technical University Berlin and the University of Arts Berlin over the past 5 years has focused on how innovative and experimental knowledge practices may encourage paradigm shifts in the higher education system in Germany. He is an alumnus of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation Fellowship Program and has extensive experience in interdisciplinary research methods, art management, and outreach. That's it, Michael. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Great. Fantastic to be here, and it's been very interesting with the panels and presentations. So, yeah, I work for the hybrid platform. So, the hybrid platform has been in existence since 2012, and it's run jointly between the two universities of the Universität, Künstler, and Technische Universität Berlin. I don't do this alone. I'm joined by a coordinator on the UDK side, and together we have a small student helper cohort of 3 students. But what we're set up to do came through a shared campus that both universities sit on. That's Campus Charlottenburg. And a history that goes back into the 19th century of these two higher institutions existing together. One focused on technology, and at the TU we do very well things like chemistry, computer science, physics, mathematics, applied mathematics. And of course at UDK is very focused on art education, and more and more research in the humanities and even the sciences. So we have an agreement between the two universities that goes right to the top between the two presidents. All our positions for the lab, we have a small space where we present some of our events and so forth. So I'm just going to give you an overview of what we do. We do about 10 events a year, and I'll give you a little sense of what we're trying to do, because we're trying to work at the intersection between art and science, establishing dialogues, and then encouraging artists and scientists to work together in some manner. So the first type of event that we've found quite successful, sort of trying to pursue this dialogue and interdisciplinary thinking, is the hybrid talks. So we do about 4 of these a year, and we invite, here on the left, this was our last hybrid talk called Climate Impact. And so we had an artist, Sabina Neumeier, who's a fellow at UDK, and then Matthias Sauter, who is a geologist and glacial specialist, and then Timothy Bofils from PIC, the Potsdam Institute for Klimaforschung. And the idea with the hybrid talks is we bring artists and scientists together to discuss their work under an umbrella theme. And so the umbrella theme here was climate impact. And so they each give around a 10-minute presentation on what they're working in, but we curate it in a way in which the scientists and the artists are equally interested in these other forms of practice. So at the hybrid platform, we try and we talk extensively about knowledge practices and different methods that come from art and science, and then ways of sort of getting that dialogue, often through sort of new technologies that artists are starting to use that come from science. Another aspect of the hybrid talks is we try and work at a flat hierarchy. So we don't only have well-established artists or professors, professoriate, but PhD students. So on this particular hybrid talk, Critical Social Practices, we had a couple of PhD students who were working in design theory and then in urbanism, and then Professor Timothy Houtz, who's a media theorist, professor at the UDK. And these hybrid talks end up with, they each present, and then we have a discussion and then an open to Q&A. But we're trying to sort of establish this idea of a sort of more flat hierarchies and more sort of open dialogue, which can be difficult in the German system. I come from the German system. I'm an Australian. We have a different sort of approach. And in Germany, it's been something to tackle. So just a quick shout out to our next hybrid talk, New Economic Systems. We have one of the guest speakers here today, Gavi. Just an idea of, we try and tackle a lot of sort of relevant themes that are popping up for artists and or scientists. So at TU we have a blockchain cryptography specialist, Professor Stefan Tai. We'll also invite a economist and statistician from HU, Wolfgang Hedel, and then Gabi, who's been working in NFTs. And so it's a similar format. Try and bring these people together and then engage in discussion and then feedback. On top of that, we try and support younger researchers or artists. We just had our second version of our symposium with the Berlin Open Lab, which I'll talk a bit about at the end of this talk. It's another example of specifically looking to the needs of younger researchers to present their work and come into dialogue with either with other researchers or other artists. And again, we do a twice yearly colloquium with the BAS, which is the Berlin Institute for Art and Science, based in the UDK. And again, it's the same thing, a focus on here more practical sort of artistic projects, either sort of the master's level or PhD level. And then a chance for younger researchers to present to peers and then, the greater public. So another aspect that we try and do, because we do actually, we are on social media and we're, we work with the press department, so we do all our own sort of, that sort of work. We started a podcast specifically on the theme of sort of interdisciplinarity. And one of our student helpers, Nadine Enzameka, she's studying African studies at HU. But this is another chance to invite and go into sort of a deep dive with artists and or scholars. Agnes Meyer-Brandes was one of our guests, Lucas Feireis, Andrea Heirat. I think we're at the seventh series in our Collision podcast, and we're going to continue that. Again, it was important to us to have sort of a younger perspective. One of the students being the host, she does all the research and helps look for interested guests. But they always come from art or science, and they have a focus on interdisciplinary work. We've also presented a number of different sort of artists through exhibitions and performances at the Langenackte Wissenschaft, which is a quite important yearly event across Berlin, various universities. We invited Federico Vissi to perform his a researcher at the UDK, involved in making new instruments, but he's heavily involved with machine learning techniques to augment what you're hearing from the particular instrument. So he has quite a level of understanding of how to manipulate using machine algorithms. So we presented him and had a small, actually Radio 1 interviewed him and streamed a part of that concert. Also at Berlin Science Week, here Moises Horta-Valenzuela, again, this sort of intersection with AI and technologies. Here Moises, you see on the left, it's a screenshot of the Berlin Hörarchiv, which is a huge online archive of DJ sets, every one of them from this bathroom-looking space. And Moises actually took that whole library and used it as the training data to generate a live set, which we manipulated that data according to various parameters. This is quite well attended. We also had a discussion beforehand. Federico was there as well. And another PhD student from BIFOL, which I'll talk about in a second. So we try and sort of, promote and engage and get an integration into sort of the larger public with these sort of themes, particularly with AI. We had an artist in residence program. Before I was at the hybrid platform, I worked at Berlin Science Gallery. And we established with the Berlin Institute for the Foundations of Big Data and Learning in Big Data, called Bifold, a artist residency program for 6 months, in which an artist would come and work with a research group at Bifold. Here we had Marco Barotti, we selected at the end. He had this very interesting work, Corals, which used machine learning techniques. He worked with a research group that was interested in tracking ocean information from sensors taken from satellite data. And so this particular research institute uses machine learning algorithms to sort of track trends in water temperature and salinity. And Marco took all this sort of data and then sonified it through these particular sculptures, which themselves moved as well. And then he worked with some biologists regarding typical growth forms with coral to generate these 3D printed bodies there on the coral. We did this as another iteration of the artist residence program, again with using the resources of the university. TU has one of the largest mineralogical collections in Germany and in the world, with a very storied history. Frederick the Great was originally the person who started the collection, and we invited an artist to come in, again over a 6-month period, to work with the curator of that particular collection, Johannes, and then she created an exhibition based on some particular themes that came out of the collection, not only sort of typical hard science, but she was very interested in decolonial thinking and so forth. So we don't only do sort of the production of artist residencies or exhibitions, we're also involved in teaching. Every year, UDK, the very first week of the year, we have the Kollisionswoche, which is every student at UDK in the Studium Generale can take this one week workshop course, like a seminar, and anybody from the UDK can take this. It counts towards credits, and so it's completely interdisciplinary, and we have been involved last year, we're going to be involved this year again. So it's a chance to sort of start to initiate and get students interested in interdisciplinary methods or thinking outside of the confines of their own practice. We also offer workshops, various different types of workshops, from the very, very technical. On the side here is this a workshop we did this year with ambisonic recording techniques, to our climate day, practical hands-on making, and everything in between. And of course we have the whole university is filled with research infrastructure, and particularly the TU, everything from electron microscopes to chemistry labs. But we have two particular Forschungsinfrastrukturen that are very focused on design and art and engineering, and that's this is the Berlin Open Lab. Berlin Open Lab Phi, number 2 on the left, is a complete higher order ambisonic playback system with VR capability and a whole suite of software tools, mainly focused on acoustic modeling and prediction, but set up really sort of to take that and give that to artists to see where the boundaries or how these tools could be misused in for example. And then on the left, the Berlin Lab Open Lab 1, where the focus is on smart materials, smart fabrics, making, basically. And this extends also, obviously, we have a sort of a strong background in architecture and design. We first started off the hybrid lab primarily focused on prototyping, modeling, parametric modeling. So that extends also to the lab's work in 3D printing, and then optimization of robotics is something we also offer. And then, various prototyping here with 3D printers. So I'll just the last, I think I've got, just going over time. The last project I'll show, one of our board members is a biologist at TU, Vera Meyer, but she's also an artist. One of the projects she worked with the UDK professor Sven Pfeiffer is this mycelium pavilion. So just an example of a real one-to-one scale project that they took together to use digital softwares to optimize this tiling shape according to size and the various properties of the mycelium to create this small little huta, or a little space. So that's it today. This is our website. You can have a look at what we do. And just come to back, like the reason why we exist is because the two universities have seen that these two different knowledge practices in art and science often can come together, particularly through new sort of digital tools and technologies that both artists and scientists seem to be interested in and work between. We get a lot of artists coming to us that have some experience in coding or other types of digital making, and then are interested to push that sort of knowledge further. So that's sort of our main focus at the moment. And please visit our website, and I'd love to see you at our next event. Thank you.
Eine Frage: Wie geht ihr mit dem Dilemma um, die technischen Möglichkeiten auf Kosten der Umwelt zu entwickeln, nämlich weil das immer mehr CO2 produzierende Ausstöße, also die Übernutzung sozusagen der Ressourcen durch Technik. Einerseits wollt ihr was Gutes tun, auf der anderen Seite seid ihr nämlich auch Teil der Verbraucher, ne, der Ressourcenverbraucher.
We don't address that specifically, I mean indirectly. Things like these sorts of projects like this, and what happens here in this lab here is exactly about that problem of reducing energy costs in the building and the design of architectural spaces. So the idea with this infrastructure here And we've already started to open up this space as architectural firms come in. They have designs that want to sort of test out acoustically, but also this just doesn't just do acoustic modelling. It can also do thermal modelling. Can also because it's all in software today. But the idea, the question about how to reduce the amount of energy spent is directly wrapped up in this particular project. But it's done through digital means. Everything is digitally modelled. But more generally, I mean, our university now shuts down on the 20th of December until the 6th of January, and there's nobody allowed in any building. And that is to not only save energy, but sort of be sustainable. So those sort of questions about energy use and so forth are very pertinent within the TU, and they've been addressed to the best that we can do it. I hope that answers the question.